Okay, so here's an example of a registration page for an evergreen webinar that's scheduled to happen every week, every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you'll see the countdown coincides with that time of the webinar. So this next webinar happens in 7 days, 12 hours, 16 minutes, and 2 seconds, and it's counting down. If I want to register for the webinar, just like any other registration page, I click on this button, I get a pop-up, and I can enter my details and register for the webinar. It's important to note that this page was just built on a regular WordPress page. There's nothing fancy about it, but you can certainly embed our shortcode on any page built with any type of page builder, whether it's Optimized Press or any other type of platform. It'll work beautifully. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate how this evergreen webinar works. I'm going to click on the button and I'm going to register for this webinar. This is a custom field, and which is optional. You can set up any number of custom fields you want to capture any additional information from the person who's registering for your webinar. Now I'm going to click Secure My Seat, and I'll be redirected to the thank you page. And again, this is just a regular page, and I've inserted a couple shortcodes that shows the link to the webinar and a link to add to calendar, and then another link that drives them back to the sales page of the product that I really want them to buy in the first place. Now if I'm going to click on this link to webinar, I'm taken to the webinar room. Now because it's not starting for another 7 days, I get a splash page that basically with the same countdown saying when the countdown hits 0, the webinar room will be open. They'll also receive an email with the webinar link in it. So they'll also receive another email 15 minutes prior to the start of the webinar. Now let's go into the back end and switch this same webinar over to a just-in-time webinar. So I'll leave this page open. I'm going to log into WordPress, and here's my webinar event. It's called ServeWire VES. So I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going to make one minor change to this. Under Webinar Type, I'm going to select Just in Time, and I'm going to set the countdown to 5 minutes. Click Update. So let's go back to our webinar page. So now you can see that we've got a countdown starting at 2 minutes and 42 seconds. I'm going to click on the button to register for the webinar again. Click Secure My Spot, and now I'm going to be redirected to the countdown page for the webinar. And when this countdown hits 0, the page will refresh and I'll automatically be entered into the webinar room. And now we're in the webinar room. The video on the right hand side is about to autoplay, and there's no controls to be able to stop it. And if I were to exit this webinar and come back again, I come back to the point in time where that has elapsed on that video. So it won't come back to where I left off. I'll come back to, if it's 5 minutes from now, I come back 5 minutes later. You'll notice on the right hand side that we have chat comments that have come in, and they're timed to come in at a preset time, and it's all fully customizable. This is just an example for you to be able to see. And at about the 1 minute mark, we're also going to see an offer displayed that we can click on. Now this offer again normally would be displayed at the end of the webinar, but I'm just showing it here for you for the purpose of this demonstration. And there's our offer. Now as an admin, I can also log in and reply live to any comments that are posted in the chat box. And then after the webinar, all of these comments are captured, and you can easily log in as an admin and then push those comments to future webinar recordings so that new comments can build on these existing comments.